Hi guys, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel and welcome to my weekend drawing session podcast type of YouTube video. I think will continue saying and announcing it awkwardly until I get used to it. But basically, welcome to the third episode of the podcast, and today I'm sharing with you the third weekend load of work. And this weekend actually is pretty interesting, I think, because this weekend I'm actually starting to doing lines, not proper lines, but outlining chapter 9. So a big chunk of this weekend work will be focusing on chapter 9 and me drawing lines. So you're gonna see all the rough sketch work that is going on when I'm creating the chapter. So I think that's gonna be interesting. This is what's coming up. I'm just letting you know. So, but overall here I'm finishing this page. This is what happens usually when I'm finishing the chapter. I mentioned it before, but basically I like to continuously draw on my chapters. I don't like having the situation where I'm drawing in color and then I'm stopping to write the next chapter, and then I'm doing rough lines for the chapter, and then I'm doing proper lines for the chapter, and then I'm going back and drawing the whole color. I really don't like this. I like continuously doing the colors for my comic. I don't like doing these breaks and doing different things. So usually when I'm approaching the end of the chapter, this is where I would start at the same time writing the next chapter. So I'm like getting actually details what's going to happen in it and all the details. And usually I'm just adding this. Usually when I'm doing, for example, breaks from the drawing and I'm just chilling and watching some short YouTube videos, so just going through Pinterest, usually during this time I would be like, no, Christina, you actually have to write the next chapter. And I would be opening my notes or my pages on the phone and I would be writing. So that's usually how it works. And then usually I would take like a smaller breaks within me actually finishing the chapter to go and create rough lines for the next chapter, and then I will go back to the color and they'll go back to the lines. Like I do a little bit back and forth, but basically it helps me not to make a major break between creating colors. I like to do colors consistently. It's just because I'm actually noticing that if I'm doing the break from the color work, even like for me, I know there is a time like 3 days. 3 days, if I do the break for more than 3 days, this is where I notice that I'm slowing down and my mind is a little foggier and I'm not really as clear as what I'm drawing, and I'm a little slower basically, and the connection between my brain and my hands is a little bit more slow. So I will be thinking, okay, I need to draw this, and then I will have to think how to draw this a little bit, or just a couple of stroke will be off, and I really hate this. I like being on top of my game, so I don't like making those breaks, and because they cost me my speed. So that's how it works. So at this point, like I'm finishing this chapter and I'm approaching the situation when I should start actually working on chapter 9. I still have a lot of pages left in chapter 8. I think I have around maybe 18 pages left to finish it. But to me, it's 18 pages of the same scene. So I would not be freaking out and going to work on another chapter right away if it would be like a couple scenes worth of the same amount of pages, because when you go from scene to scene, painting-wise, it's still a little bit of a reset. You have to prepare backgrounds for each scene. You have to prepare colors for each scene. There will be some tasks for the next scene. So even though like if it's like 2 scenes and it's 18 pages, it will typically take you more time than the same scene of 18 pages. So now it's the same scene, and the harder part of the scene, like the background wise, where it was transitioning from sunset to a nighttime, I already covered. So now it's going to be just me going through the same reference, and I literally can be drawing the last page of the chapter and like 18 pages before part of the chapter. I can be just drawing anywhere, everything at once, and it's actually going to be completed fairly easily because it's the same scene, the same colors, the same everything. So that's why I'm starting to be like, okay, I need to do another chapter. But for now, I'm still working my final pages before I start actually outlining with lines. But usually during this time, like you see me like doing these pages, I'm actually I'm thinking about the plot of chapter 9 at this point. I'm maybe drawing the clothes of these guys, but I'm all in, okay, what should be happening in chapter 9? And chapter 9, like every chapter from now on is really kicking the plot further and further, because there was a big chunk of the story that was really introductory. So I just emerged from the introduction kind of setup part of the story and this is now the action is actually start going into high gear. Things becomes more serious, stakes become serious, and more information is just piling on the reader, and information coming from all the sources, not just from the main characters, from other characters, from supporting cast, and we're learning everything about this character, that character, world building, this tradition, that tradition, politics of this world, economics of this world, this thing about this world, this caveat, this person has, for example, these issues, and it's just all start piling up, and it started piling up more and more intensely. So I'm assuming my readers, I've been setting the whole thing up maybe for like several years at this point. So guys, now it's time for the real plot and the real deal. So chapter 8, as I mentioned in the podcast, I think in the first one, is already started like really kicking into action, but there's still a lot of setup going on in chapter 8. Like, for example, we see like in chapter 8, those guys that like what I'm drawing right now, conflict of these guys actually start to emerge. We just start to learn Kuroi, like the main protagonist, the guy in black with long hair. We're just starting to learn what his deal is. We started to put some pieces together, but we didn't yet see payoff. Like the first payoff didn't happen yet. It will happen in chapter 10 for this character. And for Tsukai, for the protagonist in chapter 8, it's not something that I'm drawing now, but it's something that's as early in the chapter. There is still a little bit of setup. There was a little bit of payoff already for her fighting like a firstborn monster. And then now it is set up for something else. So chapter 8, it has like there was a little bit of payoff. In chapter 7 it started a little bit, and now it's set up for more stuff. And in chapter 9 we're really going in a lot of action and a lot of information, and I'm really from page 1 will be start telling you a lot of things. So chapter 9 is very important, and usually when chapters are like this, it's challenging to get as much information as possible, plus make it entertaining, plus have the composition of the chapter, the flow of the story, and at the same time make sure everybody is following. So that's kind of my personal things that I'm worried about when I'm writing the chapters. But overall, like now I'm just reminiscing as I'm working on chapter 8, and it's not last page, it's last scene. I'm pretty proud of what I was able to accomplish with chapter 8. It's more like calm and slow in writing. It set up a lot of things. It tells you a lot of things, but it's not crazy actiony. But also I'm happy that I was actually able, I think, to bump up the quality of my drawing and not sacrifice the speed. The background quality, I really pushed it to have it more details. And then there was a lot of scenes in this particular chapter. For example, like this one, where I have a lot of characters in one scene, which is never easy. When you have a lot of characters in the scene and each panel have, for example, 3 people in it, it is not easy. It takes a lot of time to do, and you don't want to, slack on other characters. You don't want to just make your protagonist look good and make other characters whatever, they're just there. I want everything to look great, because every time you have an opportunity to draw something that is not main character, you're doing world building, basically. There's a lot of way to do world building, but in the comic, when you do visual stuff, like creating the clothes of the supportive cast, creating their behavior, gestures, body language, it's all world building as well. You're introducing the culture, you're introducing a lot of things. And yeah, so it was a lot of challenging pages like this. Maybe I should do like a video when I finish chapter 8, and I will be just reminiscing of how chapter 8 went, what I learned, everything. Actually, that would be a good idea. Maybe I should do something like this, because with each chapter, I always try to create some sort of a progress in my skill and in the comic as well. So it's good to reflect and see if I was able to achieve this. So this scene particularly, I already kind of touched upon a lot of things in regards to this scene. Because I've been drawing this scene for a while. But overall, what I really, really enjoy is creating I just like drawing different characters in the world as well. Before, when I was just starting creating my comic, I was all about just my main cast. I was like, I just want to draw my main characters. It's not even the main cast, just the 2. It's Kuro and Sakai. I want to just draw them. I don't want to draw anybody else. Like, the whole world is literally felt like a setup for me to have an excuse to draw those characters more. But actually, now that I've been with my main characters for a very long time, for years and years, now as I'm in the comic and I get the opportunity to draw other characters, I find myself actually thinking, wow, this character is interesting. I want to learn more about this character. Oh, I wonder what this character, is up to. Or I wonder what is the story of this guy or this girl. And this becomes interesting to me, like the side characters become very interesting to me in a sense that they're part of this world. They are part of this fantasy world. They're not like my protagonists who come to this world and they have experience of our world. The side characters, they're almost elements of the world. So to me, creating those characters is kind of like the same thing as creating dragons, other magical beings or stuff like this, because they were born here. They are extensions of this world. And I don't know, I like thinking about stuff like this. But yeah, that's basically where that's part at. And now I'm starting to actually go to and draw some lines, and you can see me struggling a little bit with the text. Please be kind. English is not my first language, and I'm dyslexic, and my sketchy version of the text is horrifying, absolutely terrifying, and just please don't read it. I mean, I'm just warning you for your sake, otherwise you might get traumatized, triggered, and all the things. But actually, as I was creating lines for this chapter, how I do it, I usually create the script. I have a video about this, I'm sure, and I'm going to link it somewhere here, when I'm talking about what are my stages of creating the comic and where I do what. But basically, in short, usually I create the script for the whole story, and then I create the script for each chapter. So usually I write through dialogues, I write through like things like they went there, she said this while doing this. So I know what should be there. And what then I do, I take this parts of the text and I scatter it around the page. And as I scatter it around the page, I kind of then match the drawing to that. Like what you see me doing right now is not really matching that, because what's happening here is that now you're seeing is the scene that didn't make it to chapter 8. I was thinking to make it to chapter 8, but then chapter 8 became 70 something pages. So I was like, oh my God, this whole chapter is abnormally long. It shouldn't be like this. So I actually removed this scene entirely. And I thought, okay, I'm not just gonna use it because the scene touches upon other characters and kind of what they're doing in their spare time. They create a little bit of depth of those characters. So when the action and the plot comes for them, you're gonna have a little bit of context and you know them a little bit too much. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like I really need to tell the story. This is too much stuff. I'm wasting pages time to tell this that is not really propelling story forward. So I was like, whatever. I'm just not gonna even put it in chapter 8 or whatever. But now, as I'm plotting chapter 9, I realize, you know what? I actually can do a lot of setup for this scene. I can actually take the drawings that I did for the scene and reuse them in chapter 9 and maybe add a little bit of more dialogue and a little bit of more information. And now this to combine basically the fact where I'm introducing my characters a little bit, telling a little bit of how they feel about each other and what's going on, like stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm able to propel the plot forward and tell a lot of important plot relevant stuff. And that's, I realized that I can do it. And I decided that just basically, if I'm creating the pages and I realize I'm not going to use them, I never delete them. I create chapter and call this scene old, or like something old, like Juria scene or Kuroi scene old. And I keep it. And for example, sometimes I get to reuse it, and sometimes I get to just read through and realize why I initially was thinking about the scene, like what was something that I was trying to tell during the scene. In this case, I actually revived it and I started putting different text. What you saw me doing right now, it was not like it wasn't super productive. Like I didn't achieve anything as like major, starting rearranging the text. What was important is that I just realized that I can open that old rejected basically scene, rearrange the text. And as I started rearranging the text, I started realizing, oh my God, there is more that I can do with the scene. This can happen, and this can happen, and this people can say this, and this people can say this. And as I started realizing this, I started having realization what I'm gonna do with the scene and why this scene is absolutely perfect for chapter 9 and how it can connect a lot of the dots and connect a lot of other things that's supposed to happen in chapter 9. And I got super excited. So I didn't do anything major there, but as basically I just started applying the text, and the fact that I realized I can reuse it helped me to, you will see further, to completely propel me forward. And I realized there's a lot of things I can do. So we're gonna get back to lines. So as I mentioned, like I did a little bit of lines, and then I'm coming back to color, and I'm coming back basically because I did a little bit of lines, and I realized, oh my God, I can definitely reuse this scene, and I have a lot of ideas what I can do with the scene, and I felt a little bit satisfied and a little bit more safe that I know where I'm going with chapter 9. So I decided, okay, I can go back and at least finish a page. So I'm sure I will be finishing this page here. But yeah, there's basically a lot of touch-up, just making sure all my pine trees are looking perfect, all the grass is looking perfect. And overall, it's nothing like this satisfactory feeling when you're finishing a page, when you actually get to go and draw like small things, small details, like the last highlights on the jacket, like the hair, and a little bit like of those tiny finishing touches. Is just so satisfying. Like, for example, something I'm doing right now, like it's almost finished. I only need to draw hands, I believe, the pigeon, and just to make sure I reinforce the hair. And this is a nice feeling when the page is coming together and you can look at it and you're really like, yes, this page is great. And especially like when it's happening when you're just starting to finish the scene. It's like the first page of the scene that is finished. And because you cannot tell how the whole scene gonna look like until you actually finish the first page, and then you get an idea like, oh, I see. So this is how the whole scene, like this is the look, the visuals of the scene, and this becomes, I don't know, it's like it's a magical feeling that I like this and finishing the page. And this is the thing what I like about creating comics, because before I used to primarily just draw like standalone art pieces, like painting of this, painting of that, and it was great and all. But there's also this absolute major feeling of emptiness when you finish a painting, because when you're drawing a painting, you're drawing and you have purpose for sitting in the computer and drawing. Like the action of drawing that I like has a purpose. You are working on this project. And when the project is completed, first of all, yes, it's a major feeling of satisfaction, of feeling liberated. Like now you can draw something, whatever you want, something else. But at the same time, it's a weird feeling of emptiness, because now having a project is giving you, it's already, how to say it, it's kind of creates this framework for your drawing process. It gives you reason to draw. It's like every time when you sit and you want to draw, you know what to draw. You have a plan. And I remember like every time I would finish like a big painting, I would feel like, oh, now I have to figure out another reason to draw, like another project to draw, because drawing is such a long process. It's if you're just sitting down and be like, oh, I'm just gonna draw a little bit, and then I'm gonna draw a little bit. Drawing a little bit here and there doesn't finish anything, so it's kind of unsatisfying. And yeah, you like the process, but you have nothing to show for. But when you have a project, you have a reason. So every time you have a drawing session, it's going somewhere. So it's moving you forward towards somewhere, to the project. But then when the project is over, you have to come up with another reason. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But the thing is with comics, especially with my comic that is super long, what I like is every time I finish page, I have this satisfaction of, damn, I finished it. Nice job. It's completed. Like I made it. But also I don't have this empty feeling, because there's so many more pages to draw. There is absolutely unlimited amount of pages to draw. Not limited, but there's so many. I have not to worry about what to draw for years and years. So this is a very nice feeling. Like just finishing a comic page is just fantastic. Like Yeah, especially look, like I'm just finishing those highlights. It's so relaxing. It's just final touching. And you know that once it's finished, you're gonna feel the feeling of satisfaction, but also there's so many more pages to draw, many more things to create. It's so relaxing, honestly. And actually now I'm thinking, I'm actually concerned, did I finish drawing his earring on the last panel? Now that I'm looking on this last panel, I actually don't remember drawing it. Did I not draw his earring? I think I didn't draw his earring. I think that's something that I will have to draw later. Yeah, in the end is usually where I'm putting the glows. I like using like glows, those highlights, those washes, because I like how they bring stuff together. And for the night, I'm using the blues. And yeah, now I'm actually interested because as I'm recording the audio, I'm just watching through my drawing process. And now I didn't finish his earring. I have to go finish it. Yeah, because he has an earring, 2 earrings on his left ear. Damn it. I mean, it's good. I can totally do this, but it's kind of funny. I forgot to draw his earring. I like put all the details, all the little hairs, all the feathers on the pigeon, but I forgot to draw my main character earring. That's okay. Yeah, but actually I have the same set of earrings on my ear. And, you know, a lot of people sometimes tell me if I'm trying to draw myself as I draw Kuroi, main character, because some people say, oh, you look alike. He has dark hair that are very long, too. He has 2 earrings in the left ear, just like you. Are you trying to draw yourself? And the thing is, no, it's actually a very different story, is because when I was starting to create my comic, I was like a teenager and I had like puberty hit me very, very hard, knocked me down, and I didn't look good during that year. So I was like chubby, but not in a, not in a nice way where you have like nice shape to your body. I was like a sausage type of shape. And my hair was super short. I didn't know back then that my hair was very thin and I need to take care of them and shouldn't blow dry them with like a blow dry because it damages them and they never grow. I didn't know that. I wore braces. I don't know. It was a disaster how I look like. And I was creating this comic and I created character Kuroi, and he's supposed to be looking beautiful. Like I'm not saying like he's beautiful because I wanted to create this hot guy. No, he is Kondra and he has basically blood of ancient Kondra in him. And the thing is, those ancient Kondra, they believed, and they're created by goddess, like darkness, and this is like the archetype of this goddess basically, but it's a female deity, and all Kondras are created basically by this female deity. And Kondra as a race, they have this aspect of beauty and femininity to them. So the more pure blood you have and the more you are related to like ancient Kondra, the more feminine and beautiful you look like. And he has a lot of that. So he has aspect of, like feminine beauty in him. And that's why he does look feminine, and he's just a beautifully looking person. And that's kind of like the reason. It's not because I'm like, I just want some pretty people in my comic. This is kind of like because of who he is. And overall, it's interesting to me to create a male character that is also has all the feminine aspect about his appearance. And I don't know, I think it's just interesting to me, at least, to write. And when I was creating this character and I was thinking, okay, how am I gonna draw this like a beautiful character? And I started drawing him and thinking how to draw somebody and to make them beautiful. I was trying to draw eyebrows certain way, hair certain way. Basically, I was projecting my own idea of what beautiful looks like on a person. And as I was creating this character, I realized, wait a second, I can definitely make a fictional character look beautiful. Surely I can do something to myself to help it. So I started basically taking the same tips I learned while creating this character to myself. I started to make my own eyebrows certain shape and it's the same because I think this is just a beautiful eyebrow shape, so I would do it. I always think that dark long hair is beautiful, so I was like, damn. I started to make sure working on my hair growing up and making them longer, and I don't know, stop dyeing my hair orange as I used to. Decided to have them black. And basically, I'm just using the same kind of beauty standards. Just overall, I have some idea of how beautiful looks like. Beautiful person looks. I don't know, my own preference, I suppose. And basically, I'm using the same stuff to myself. And that's why people now ask me sometimes if why I'm looking like my main character a little bit. I still think he is way more beautiful than I am. Like, I'm okay. He's looking very nice. I can never beat him. But basically this is kind of the weird story about this. I don't know, guys, if it's interesting for you. But this is like, a lot of people always tell me that I kind of look like this character. I have the same earrings kind of set up in my ear. It's just, that was actually on purpose. This was the only one that I did on purpose because, yeah, that's my character. I might as well get the same earring that this character has. I don't know if this is interesting, but like, I don't know. That's what's happening. And now I'm going to the lines again, and this one is actually will go nowhere. I thought it's going to be the first panel, the opening panel of chapter 9, but nope. I just drew this, and I think it was good just exercise to draw this character, because in this scene, in the first scene of chapter 9, we are returning to this character. And this character was in chapter 3 and chapter 4 and a little bit of chapter 5, but we never had... So we had with this one continuous situation with this character, but then we never returned to this character. And we never had this character... Oh, actually, we did. There was a scene where we had this character as a protagonist, so this is the character in the scene. So it was not a supportive character to my main character, Tsukai. There was actually a moment where this character was on her own, and kind of like Tsukai left, and this character left alone with an imaginary comic camera. And yeah, so actually we had a moment with this character alone. So now we were going full on into this situation where this character is full on narrator POV and starting to establish in its own place, their own place as a protagonist. I don't know why I say there, because it's obviously her. But yeah, and I think it's good for me that I just started, because originally I thought, oh, the opening shot would be her going through the crowd of people, and I will just, this would be a nice opening shot. So that's why I drew her like just walking proud and nice and proud throughout the... I don't know. I didn't even draw the background, but then I realized, no, it's not actually the great opening shot. It doesn't tell a lot of information. Sometimes if you want to slow action down and you want to show, okay, the character is walking through scenery, it can be a good approach if you want to just introduce the scenery and show what's up. So now we have an excuse of character walking, and then you're showing the scenery as the character walking through it. So if it's nice for the slower setups, but I decided that for this scene it's better to just jump into action. She's in the middle of the action. She's doing something within the scenery. So, but in the end, I still like this sketch, and because it does really represent her, like she is, she's a matron to be. So basically in my story, you have matron-patron system of local governments, I suppose. Like if you have a small village, so a small city, you have a matron or patron, so basically somebody is in charge, and her grandmother is currently a matron. So her father typically is a patron, her father is away, so her grandmother is a matron right now, and she's a matron to be. She would be the next matron in line. The matron and patron system is not necessarily passed on throughout the family, but it's also very common, because if this is like a family business, like in the family, this is when the knowledge is, and this is kind of what you want to learn, the administration work. You can definitely, it's in small villages, it's very common then it just, the daughter of the patron becomes a matron or something like that. So this is the case here, and that's why she has this understanding of responsibilities, of how to, make sure everything is organized, take care of everybody. She has this authoritarian vibe to her, but she's also very maternal in this sense. Like in her mind, she's thinking how to take care of people, how to make sure everybody is all right, and she doesn't afraid of doing extra work, of taking all the responsibilities necessary. So for her, it's not a problem at all. So that's it was helpful for me to draw this sketch, because just to get back into the vibe of this character, because how she walks, she's confident and calm and balanced and level. So I don't know, I really like this character. So I think if you sometimes drawing something and you not end up using it, still can be very, very useful. I remember when I was just coming back to drawing my comic, I because I was on hiatus for almost 3 years, for me to get back to it and actually get into the vibe, I did like a whole line work, just a line art of my characters in different stages of the story, and just to get inspired just to get inspired and to get the grasp on my characters overall. So now that I realize I'm not going to be using that sketch, that maybe I'm going to draw it for a cover. I don't know. Even though, like, as I just said, that it's nothing is lost, even if you're not using it, I still like to utilize whatever I have. I'm very result-oriented person. So now I'm actually starting to draw this scene. And yeah, I don't think I ever showed you guys how I'm drawing, so how I'm outlining. Mostly because when I'm outlining, I kind of don't want anybody to see it. It's the process that I'm the most unsure about, because I'm literally just deciding what's going to be there. Usually, if I'm drawing painting colors, I'm very sure of what I'm doing, because I definitely know that this guy's going to be here, the forest is going to be there, that's what's going to be happening. So I know the plan. The plan is there. So I'm pretty sure and don't mind like filming it. But something like lines, with this particular chapter, what happened is that I had like the script for it a little bit, but as I was writing the script, I was not sure about, like, it's just, I was writing the script and I was like, no, it's not right. It's either not right time in the story to have this part there or something like this. And then initially I thought to start chapter 9 with another character. So I thought to have chapter 9 be a storyline of Avery, my other character from that appeared in in the first chapter, but she got a spotlight in chapter 5 and she appeared in chapter 7. So I thought that this chapter going to be highlight of this character. So we're going to have her POV, and then we're going to have Tsukai as my main protagonist POV. And I was mostly trying to do this because Avery's character is very important in the sense like she has a lot of story to tell, that character. And I'm very apprehensive how much I need to cover for this character for us to start understand her motivations, because to understand her motivations, I have to explain a lot of her background, a lot of stuff about Eastern Province overall, a lot about how politics work. So it's a lot. So I was apprehensive and I was like, I have to give as much of her part of the story as possible and as soon as possible, because I have a lot to tell. So we just get to understand the character's motivation. So I was like, I was trying to fit her plot line in there, but I was struggling. Something wasn't feeling right. And I realized, just relax and just go with the flow. What the character feels the most organic to talk about now. And I immediately thought Julia, because we didn't hear about her for a while. So I just felt like she's an important character and she is approaching a very important plot point. And I always was thinking, okay, I need to have some scene with her before the scene where she does important plot point things, to have like something like build up and get a little bit of a grasp of her personality. So for example, in this scene, it's very plot related, but it's not where she's making a plot point important decision. That's why in this scene, I can make it a little slower and just pause a little bit and show a little bit of this character's personality and a little bit more of her nuanced connections with, for example, her grandmother. And it's not super plot relevant, like it doesn't matter. This conversation it's not going to do anything for the plot, whether it happened or not. But it's going to help with rounding the character and making the character more understandable and understanding who she is. And overall, adding some richness. I feel like when you're writing, things that are not important are very important. It doesn't have to be all plot related, like small details about characters' personality, certain things they like, certain way they treat others, or certain relationship they have with their second cousin. It's just a tiny thing that doesn't have to come up with the plot. It still helps to build our understanding of this character. And this understanding doesn't have to be like you understand what plot decision they're going to make later, but this character becomes more real. And when things are happening to this character, good or bad, you feel more. So I decided so that I'm gonna return to her in this particular scene, and I'm gonna just and I actually decided to do this weird thing. Like, as I said, usually I have a script, and then as the script, like, I have it written, and then I draw. So I kind of scatter words around the page, and then I draw drawings to match the words. And I actually started having troubles with it a little bit, especially in chapter 8, and in all the kind of chapters, in all the scenes that are very that have a lot of layers, where a lot of things are going on, a lot of things are context. This is where I started struggling. So, and even with this one, I started struggling too. And I decided, well, first of all, I realized I'm not even clear what I'm doing. I initially tried to force myself to write about another character in this chapter to begin with. So now I'm doing something else. How about I just don't block myself, and I just draw first with no words. And I'm not gonna even think what words should there be. I'm just gonna go where the drawing takes me, and I'm just gonna see what characters do. I actually obviously draw them talking, and I know that this is the beat for them to talk. This is the beat for this guy to reply, and I have kind of the idea, the vibe of what they're replying as I'm going, but I'm not going in specifics of words. It doesn't matter. It's very weird. I never tried it before. And actually, while I was doing this, I purposely, usually when I'm doing lines and when I put in dialogue and stuff, I usually listen to the music, not to YouTube or audiobook, obviously, because I'm writing. So it's hard to write and create like dialogues and stuff like this as you are getting another writing, and it's really confusing. But in this case, because I was not writing actual words, but I was plotting. But so I started listening to some like videos on YouTube on something that will take my attention away from thinking about all the details of the dialogue. But so it's like it makes me not overthink too much. It's very weird. So it's like part of my brain were occupied with what the lecture was about, and only part of the brain that is mostly visual was focused on this scene. And it really felt very strangely liberating. I feel like part of my brain, the one that's overthinks everything, the part thinks, oh, is this line of dialogue smart? Is this stupid? Does it make sense? Am I being like, or like, am I a bad writer by saying this? Should I say it more complex? Should I say it with more nuance? Should I have like more like word smartness, I don't know, in there? And as I kind of was listening to some other things, it took my mind away from all this BS, and I was able to just draw what is happening, draw the plot, draw kind of like the scene overall and what's happened. So it's a weird, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I'm also debating making a whole video about it, because it's the first time I did something like this. I never before went with this style. I heard of this way of creating comic, and actually when I was researching Kentaro Miura, it's an author of Berserk, and I probably cannot for the life of me pronounce his name right, even though I watch a lot of anime with subs. Still cannot do it. But he actually was saying how the way he writes Berserk is that he actually draws all the pages first, and then he proceeds with text. And when I was listening to this, I was like, holy moly, this is so backwards. That makes my head hurt just listening about it. Because how can you know anything with the drawing alone? Like, if you draw something and you spend time drawing, like, the text will just not land. Like, you're committing too much. And I don't know. So it's for me, I come in from the writing background. So I'm a writer. I have a novel published in Russian, though. But I come in from writer to being a comic artist. So it's kind of to this more simplified writing aspect when you're writing with your art. So to me, if I feel insecure, I revert to my just plain writing thing. So for me, when I write, it's always about that the written words is the key, is the master layer. It's like the ones that get priority. Get the words, and when you're drawing, don't really think, just match the words. That was my context, and I thought for some reason this is how you do it. But so when I heard this thing about Kentaro's idea, I was like, I was so not matching with that I couldn't even comprehend how it's even possible, and how is it, like, to me it's like, wow, it's really lucky that something good comes out of it, type of thing. So this was my first time actually doing it, because as I realized I'm struggling, I thought I can as well like try something new and see how it goes. So oddly enough, that works amazing. I was able to, because another thing that I'm doing with words, as I'm scattering words on the page, a lot of things that I want to say in this page are words, not pictures. So then I have to realize, oh no, it's better to be, I make it to be a context instead of text, make it be a drawing instead of saying, and I adjust and adjust. And as I'm doing it, as I'm struggling, I also nervously counting pages that I'm producing. As you can see here, I am creating a page, then I'm outlining it, then I create a new page, I rename it, then I create a new page, and I see how many pages I will have in this chapter, how many pages I'm generating. As I'm generating pages, for example, I'm on scene with one character, and I know that the scene is halfway done only. Nothing, it's not wrapping up yet. But I see that it's already like 12 pages, and I start freaking out because it's getting to be a lot of pages. To me, it's too much time wasted to get to the point, even though they said like important things and details are very important. But I notice for me sometimes I don't know why, I feel like sometimes I tend to waste more time getting to the point, and then I have to shorten myself down. Now, with this drawing first approach, it's not the case at all. It's actually, I feel like I'm saying more in less amount of pages, and it doesn't feel rushed. It flows very organically. And sometimes I have just this feeling, okay, now give it a breather, give the scene a breather. And I would have like a page or two more calm, more inverted, and more just relaxing and not like inverted, but more thoughtful and just more calm and more quiet, just having pause and action, and then action picks up again. And this is very strange. That's really writing. It's like the next level, I think, to me, that I used to be a plotter, and then I realized, like, usually I stride with a plot, and as I start pantsing, I do better job. Like the pantsing, as I pants, everything just comes together better. Like I never have a situation when I pants and then I write myself into the corner. For me, I be pantsing and everything, like I start plotting, I would plot stuff, then I start writing, and then I realize, oh, whatever, heck to this, and I will start pantsing. And everything that I planned in plot will still come together, and even better, and more details will come in together that I didn't include in the plot because I realized I can never pull it off. It just feels like when I'm pantsing, I'm smarter. I don't know how it works. Like my brain almost has access to more RAM. I don't know how to say it. And it's very strange. And this drawing way feels like ultimate pantsing, because I really, like, I open this page, I start drawing, and as I'm drawing, I know what's going to happen on the next panel. As I'm doing it, I realize what's going to happen on the next page. And then I'm doing that, like the story, it's very magical. I don't know how to explain. I like to think about myself as a logical person who plans everything. This is how I am in the real life. So, but this in the comic, especially like with this process, it feels almost weird. Like it feels like I don't know where it's coming from. I'm realizing stuff as I go, or maybe I had those, I mean, stuff that doesn't come out of nowhere. I know what should happen to, like, I know like this character should do this, thought of this, think of this, realize this, do this, and in this and in this situation make this decision, and in this situation argue with this character and choose this, rebel here. So I have this ideas, and I also know, okay, readers need to know about this magical element, readers need to know about this aspect of the world, of this law aspect, of this political aspect. It's like I keep that stuff in mind, and in the plot I'm struggling to bring it all together. But now, like, as I'm drawing those pages, it's just, I just get it. It's just, I know, like, next page, I'm like, oh, next page, you're gonna say this, and at the same time, that might happen on the background, and that's how I weave something in. So that's very, very strange. So that's why I'm thinking to make a video about this, because it's just something very, very new to my process. I never experienced it before, and it seemed to be working really, really well for me. And I usually like to do my lines. I like to stop doing my lines by the point when I feel like, yes, I'm happy. I'm proud with this development of the story. So I need to be satisfied with this enough to feel comfortable to just paint it over without thinking about the plot at all. Because when I'm painting, I don't think about it. So this is kind of, I want to be in this satisfactory state of mind when I finish my lines. And that's why I'm struggling sometimes, because I'm like, that's okay, that's the plot motion, but I don't feel particularly proud of what I've done. And as I'm doing that, I know, like, for you guys, it probably doesn't feel like anything special because I'm literally drawing like stick figures. But I will do, obviously I will go over these lines and make them better eventually. And I'm going to share this process with you too. If I end up doing it on the weekend, I probably will. Like, this chapter, as I'm sketching now, is already 48 pages, I think. So definitely something will fall on the weekend. But I'm very actually happy with how this chapter comes together. I was able to pack a lot of information in there with less pages that I would normally do. And it's actually, I was able to do some intense moments, because another thing with writing, it's so logical for me when I'm doing script. It's so cold and like just words and like cold logic. It's hard to write characters' emotion into the plan. So this is another thing that for me, it always was the problem with plotting. If I'm plotting like structured wise, it's hard for me to plan how the character is going to react. I can't have in the plot like this happens and they piss them off and they do this, so this happens and it triggers this character to remember that and they get a la 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 la. But I can plan for it, but as I'm arriving, sometimes characters are not arriving at this place emotionally, and I get stuck because I don't know how to move forward. If I cannot, like, it's like almost they're like humans. Like, I can't plan that they gonna react certain way, or not even planned that I rely on them reacting certain way to propel the plot forward and have things happen. But as I arrive, they're not there. I mean, I can write them doing it anyway, but I just feel this pit inside of my stomach that it's wrong, and I just don't feel like it's correct to my characters. So, but with this approach, it doesn't happen because. And when maybe I'll clarify first why does it feel this way, because like I know, for example, that this certain thing typically pisses off my character, but then when they arrive to the scene, there might be so much context happening in the scene and so much happened before that I didn't calculate that might have affected them. And people have different moods during different times. People have during different moods just, I don't know, just because of random things, like little small things that happen. So it doesn't feel like organically, I cannot predict where my character is going to be at emotionally. So with this approach, though, I literally just follow characters' emotions because I see how they develop every second, and I'm also able to plan those emotional moments because you will see later, not in this weekend session, actually maybe, I don't know, I need to check, but basically probably in the next one, because in this one I'm finishing Julia's scene. But then in the next one, the next scene coming up is the guy scene, and it has a lot of emotional stuff. Because just like the guy's dealing with a lot of stuff in this scene, she is like, she's exposed basically to a lot of death, to a lot of violence. She, like, not a lot, how we can go in stories, but more than she ever experienced in her entire life. And then she also exposed to, she started experiencing magic like her own magic, and it's completely weird experience because magic in my world, there's a lot of types. It's overwhelming amount of different types of magic that act by different rules, and it's like a lot of magic systems in my world, and I don't care to explain all of them just because I don't know, I don't feel like magic it shouldn't be one system. Like, there's no one type of science that explains it all. in our world, right? So to me, magic is just I should have idea of what systems are and how they operate, but I don't have to explain all of them, or characters should understand all of them. You have to study just one to understand, and some people just know it exists. So she's bombarded with different types of magic that she has access to, and she doesn't understand how they work. And some of them end up with her having certain visions and her seeing different things. And it's just so confusing for her in so many ways. Like first of all, she sees violence, and then she is confused with all this magic. She doesn't understand how it works. And then she tries to keep up this facade in front of this lady to, act like she's from different province, not from different reality. So that's very confusing for her, and that's why she's very emotional in this scene. And I'm not saying emotional, like she's like cries and so upset. Like she is stressed the hell out. Like she's super stressed. She experienced very intense emotions. She's scared, she's nervous, she's angry, she's confused, and overall she's a little bit on the edge. So, and with this way of drawing, it was really easier to draw it organically. Before I would definitely struggle. I would just, the guy says this, she is stressed, and then I try to draw it. And sometimes in my note I would be like, make her looking more stressed. But I don't know. So I know it's not impressive what I'm actually drawing right now, but trust me, this is like those stick figures are actually the core of the story. This is where the actual story happens. I feel this is like the writing moment of the whole story, and this is where it happens, literally. And it doesn't look impressive, I know, but I thought I'm gonna share it. And usually, again, I don't record it just because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know if I'm gonna start drawing this panel, it's gonna be complete, like it's gonna look ugly, or it's gonna look wrong, and you're gonna see me redraw and redraw and redraw again. And it's also, I do feel this weird type of pressure when I'm drawing on camera. I keep in mind that if I fail, it's gonna be on camera, even though I can cut it out. It's a weird psychological thing. Even though I know it can cut it out, I still have this feeling that somebody's watching, even though it's myself. And I do sometimes feel pressure to just, pause a little bit longer the scene and make sure I draw nose and eyebrows and lips so people know it's a human, at least understand what I'm drawing. Because for myself, I can just draw a blob and I will remember what it is. So there's this weird type of pressure, and like I feel like I'm performing a little bit. And that's why it was harder for me to record this, even though I realized it might be viable. But with this way, I actually felt more or less comfortable to start recording for some reason. But you still see how not impressive it looks. But trust me, usually if I'm not even recording, I just draw blobs, and that's about it, because I know. And then because I'm gonna do another pass when I will actually draw it better, so it's like usable, just so that it's usable, but I just I don't know how what else can I add to the situation, but I know it's unimpressive. Like, look at this, Jesus. But this is the writing part, and I also don't like doing a lot of options. That's why if I'm struggling with the script, that's why I was struggling so much with the script, because I was like, no, Christina, script is ready, not even start drawing yet. So apparently the answer was always to just start drawing. And yeah, as you can see, remember, as I mentioned, that it's easier to just create more calm moment. And yes, it's just I was drawing and I was like, okay, and now she needs to go and do this. And then I had this idea, oh no, maybe she just goes and she sits on the like next to the lake, and you have this moment of her thinking of what just happened. And then I was like, oh, that's nice. And I was drawing that she was thinking. I was like, oh, maybe while she's thinking, she pays attention to, like, because she has the souls of people around her, like people, when they die, they have the soul kind of linger in the air. Maybe when she has them looking at those souls, she started realizing something. And it's not like we get idea what she's realizing, but by the way she looks at them, we see that she start getting some pieces together about why those people died, what happened. And then I got another idea. Maybe then before she gets too deep, she gets distracted by an actual plot. and it makes sense that she gets distracted because she's expecting a message. So, and none of this I was planning. I was thinking, oh, now she needs to go and send the message. And then as I was drawing, the idea came, maybe she goes and sits in front of this, like, first we have this calm moment, and then she starts realizing this, and then not she sending a message, and the message is going to her because she sent it off screen, and now she's getting a reply. So this is something that I would not think maybe I would think it is the plot, but I feel like it would take more effort. I don't know how it comes together as I'm drawing. I don't know. Yeah, I have to process this, I guess, because it's the first time it happened. And I'm extremely happy with how it happened. And I'm also extremely happy because I always like consuming different information while I'm drawing. I'm this weird person. I like doing a couple things at once, always at the same time. So if I usually don't like drawing with music, just because when you're drawing with music is nice, but it doesn't have a lot of information in it, and I like to be constantly filled with information. I like listening to the music when I'm working out because it gives like a beat, like energy, and I can start imagining things. So for me, like, I'm start imagining and thinking and plotting something while I'm working out. So now I'm doing two things at once, and music is helping. But when I'm drawing, I like to listen to lectures, to audiobooks, to like some talks, some discussions, book reviews, all stuff like this. So I like to have like constant information dump in my brain. But usually before, as I was plotting, as I'm doing this, what I'm doing now, I would listen to music because it's just impossible to get some text going in. So what helps me, like what I'm really excited about with this way of drawing, is that I actually need a distraction of different information coming in. I was listening to a lot of Sarah Z videos. They're amazing. I just like how she just picks up on the most nerdy fandom weird topic and just start analyzing the living hell out of it. That's amazing. Love her. So that helps me because now I can do this and still get information, because sometimes when I'm thinking I need to do lines and I'm like, oh no, that means I cannot listen to this YouTube video that I wanted to listen. I cannot read this audiobook. I get disappointed, and I kind of postpone a little bit just because I just want information. I just want to, I guess, I don't know what's up with this. And also another thing, because I'm an immigrant, I really like listening to English anything. People sometimes are listening to some people and they have like weird YouTube video and they talk about weird stuff, but they have, for example, a very nice southern accent, and it's something that I'm really interested in understanding how it works. Or for example, they use really cool words or really cool like speech patterns, and this is something that I want to learn. Like I constantly like to listening to people. And if you guys, for some reason, I know I speak with accent, even though I try not to, if you hear me perform some amazing English sound, amazing English accent, know that it's because I stole it from somewhere. All my good pronunciation is that just me like a monkey repeating that every time. And that's why I like listening to people speaking English this way. I have a lot of bigger library of sounds in my head, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. So I actually basically, I just wanted to show you how I'm doing the lines. So I'm thinking me speaking has more maybe value in explaining that's actually drawing, because yeah, that's really very plain. But I don't know, I feel like also line art, it has so much like sketchy art or line art, it has so much dynamics in it and so much emotion in it. I feel like when the art is polished, it's kind of almost calms down, it becomes more stony, it loses life a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I don't know how to capture this feeling of kind of energy and emotion without not sacrificing the quality necessarily, but like sacrificing the style, because I like to draw in this hyper realistic style, and it feels like this liveliness and this energy only comes from this kind of sketchy approach, and I don't know, and the style being a little bit not rough but like sketchy like. But yeah, I will gather my thoughts even better, I think, by the time I'll have a new video. because there will be a lot of more lines and I will draw more of them a little bit. So I hope you guys are not disgusted by these lines, because more is coming. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I don't know if you guys made it till the end. I don't know. I personally like listening to very long stuff, as you said. I just like having information in my brain. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of this podcast, and I'm gonna have another one ready for you for the next week. So I hope you guys are having a good day, and I will see you in my next video coming on Thursday. So have good times till then, and yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.